Hey guys, let's get more news about Dallas, but first don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Dallas Cowboys best bargain player revealed. The Dallas Cowboys have plenty of star power on both sides of the football, but the biggest bargain of all might be All-Pro cornerback Darren Bland. Bleacher Report's Brad Gagnon listed the most underpaid player on every roster across the NFL, and names Bland as the Cowboys' most underpaid player on the roster. With all due respect to the underpaid CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons, Gagnon writes. Neither stood a chance next to a guy who intercepted 9 passes in a first-team All-Pro sophomore season while earning less than $1 million. In a secondary that also featured Stephon Gilmore, Bland was a nightmare for opposing quarterbacks and wide receivers during a record-setting 2023 season. Bland was named a first-team All-Pro selection for the first time in his career, just 2 years removed from being chosen by the Cowboys in the 5th round of the 2022 draft. One of the brighter diamonds in the rough the Cowboys have mined through the draft in recent years, Bland now holds the record for most interceptions returned for a touchdown in a single season, with 5. According to Pro Football Focus, Bland held opposing quarterbacks to a meager 50.9 passer rating when targeting him, underscoring his dominance in coverage. Bland produced a career-high 69 tackles, intercepted 9 passes, and broke up 15 more while garnering an elite 90.4 overall grade from PFF. Through his first 2 NFL seasons, Bland has picked off 14 passes, logged 123 total tackles, broken up 22 passes, and has produced 2.5 tackles for loss so far in his career. Entering the 3rd year of his rookie contract, Bland is set to make a base salary of just $985,000 in 2024 while counting $1.06 million against the cap for Dallas in 2024. On the opposite end of the value spectrum from Bland sits CeeDee Lamb. Emerging as one of the NFL's most prolific wide receivers, and the Cowboys' most dangerous weapon in the passing game, Lamb is coming off a career-high 1,749-yard and 12-touchdown campaign in 2023, setting new career highs in both key categories. Lamb is set to enter his 5th-year option in 2024 while collecting $17.99 million for the upcoming season. However, the Cowboys will likely need to sign the 25-year-old emerging star to an extension in the coming months to lower his cap number and ensure he's wearing a star on the side of his helmet for the foreseeable future. "I can't give you numbers right now," Lamb said on teammate Micah Parsons' podcast leading up to the Super Bowl. "But I'll tell you this. I want to be one of the top-paid wide receivers, for sure, if not the highest-paid receiver. That's always the goal." If Lamb is intent on being one of the highest-paid receivers, it could cost the Cowboys upwards of $28.63 million against the cap, which is San Francisco 49ers receiver Deebo Samuel's annual cap hit as the 3rd highest-paid receiver in the league. To reset the receiver market, the Cowboys would need to exceed Tyreek Hill's $31.30 cap number in terms of their commitment to Lamb. Chosen by the Cowboys with the number 17 overall pick in the 2020 draft, Lamb has caught 395 passes for 5,145 yards and 32 touchdowns through his first 4 seasons. Cowboys mailbag, questions on wide receiver, Zach Frazier, and roster cuts. Every week, we take questions on X, Twitter, and Facebook about Dallas Cowboys, players, and other issues surrounding the team. So let's get right into it. Mike, there's an argument to be made that wide receiver is a big need for Dallas. The way to look at drafting a receiver is the Cowboys should do so if they believe that prospect is better than Jalen Tolbert. If there's a guy on day 2 who they think will be a better player than Tolbert, then why not get that guy? Sure, there are other needs for Dallas like offensive line or linebacker, but if they address those 2 needs and want to wait on day 3 for running back and cornerback, drafting a wide receiver is a smart way to go. Most importantly, they need to make sure they get an X receiver to fill the gap left by Michael Gallup. Brandon, Unfortunately, the Cowboys have more pressing needs to address over wide receiver. There are questions about who will start at left tackle, center, linebacker, and even defensive tackle. Yes, Brandon Cooks is entering the final year of his deal, but the depth of the wide receiver class could stretch to the 5th round if the right player is there, or if Dallas trades back to acquire a 4th-round pick. Not to mention they would probably like to see Jalen Tolbert take an even bigger step forward with Michael Gallup no longer on the team. The only scenario I could see Dallas taking a wide receiver in the first 3 rounds is if they get an extra 3rd or 2 4th-round picks and have a surplus of their initial draft capital. Outside of that, it might not be in the cards for them this year. Straight away Cooper Rush comes to mind. The front office have made it clear what they think of Trey Lance when they paid his signing bonus. This puts Cooper Rush up for the fight of his life to stay in Dallas. His only saving grace is the rules on QB3. Another guy is Chauncey Golston. In the Mike Zimmer scheme, he likes his inside defensive linemen to be large and bulky and take up space, which means Golston playing up and down the line won't work for Zimmer. If Golston fails to impress on the edge, he could be on his way out. Currently he has 4 sacks in 3 years. Mike has a great point about Cooper Rush. Initially, I thought Rush was a lock to make the team, but at some point, Dallas has to justify giving up a 4th-round pick for Trey Lance. That would be a tough sell if he's still the 3rd-string quarterback. Rush's value is even higher coming off a year where backup quarterbacks were playing more than ever around the NFL. The Cowboys know they could win with Rush. If Lance outperforms Rush in training camp, I could see Dallas betting on the playmaking ability more and move on, but I wouldn't say that's a close conversation right now. The other surprising player would be someone like Eric Scott Jr. or Viliami Fehoko. Both players didn't see the field during their rookie years and were drafted under a different defensive coordinator. If Mike Zimmer can't find a place for them on his defense, Dallas can draft or acquire competition in undrafted free agency, and it could be at the cost of either player's roster spot. Dak Prescott breaking news? Are Dallas Cowboys feeding misinformation to ESPN? Is somebody from here inside the Star feeding misinformation to ESPN? Or is Bristol just goofing up the news on Dak Prescott all by itself? The world knows that Prescott is out of contract after this season, and that it's a potential mess right now, and maybe for the long term, too. Fowler's weekend report includes 3 assertions that accomplish nothing outside of muddying the factual waters. 1. With Dak, Fowler reports, I was told from a source of the team that the notion that the Cowboys don't want to keep Dak Prescott beyond 2024 when he'll be a free agent the next year is false. This is a red herring. Nobody inside the Star has ever said they don't want Dak long-term. Fowler is shooting down a falsehood that isn't at all part of the conversation. 2. They still believe in him firmly, Fowler claims. This might be, we suppose, a matter of semantics. We'd argue, though, that they clearly are not firm on paying Prescott what most would see as market value, which is CowboysSI.com has reported we believe Dak's side to see as $60 million APY. If Dallas believed firmly in Dak in that way, this deal would already be done. Additionally, if the conviction and the desire and the plan was firm, the Cowboys wouldn't be, allegedly, leaking the rumor that they might take a QB high in this month's NFL draft. One more thing about firm conviction and desire: how did that news story comparing Dak unfavorably with the likes of Blake Bortles and Case Keenum ever end up in the local paper? How did the Jones family read that and not issue a retaliatory denial/argument? The obvious theory, of course, is that the Jones family was well aware that story was about to be published, if you catch our drift. The fact is this: just as Cowboys observers are of 2 minds on what Dak is, the powers that be inside the Star find themselves straddling the fence. And you, fan, what do you think of the situation of Jackson Dak Prescott? Leave your opinion in the comments.